Hello, everybody. Welcome back from the break. I'm just going to go through today's session. We're experiencing a small delay in putting together the next session, but you know, I will kind of let you in on what the next set of sessions are going to look like. So the Farmer as Partners session is going to mostly look into how we can learn from organizations which have been working at the grassroots with producers and the outcomes they've had. Basically, the session after that, the post-lunch session, is going to be on animals in social justice movements. I think we're a relatively new movement, and I think there's a lot of work to be put in before, we're kind of accepted as a larger part, as a part of a larger movement that is seeking social justice. You know, in it is very clear that seeking for animal protection and welfare is clearly part of achieving the greatest good, but it is not always obvious to a lot of the people in the development space that this is even a movement that's kind of burgeoning on the sidelines. And I think it is worth noting how we kind of can achieve more visibility and also be recognized for the great work that is being put in here. The session after that is going to be on working with communities in the intersection, in the intersections. Basically, India is a large country with lots of different types of communities and different, we have different socioeconomic groups, languages, and communities. What is it like to work with some of the more marginalized communities for this cause is something that we're going to learn at that point. And lastly, how do we build a coalition that will ultimately help the planet and help animals is what we're going to do from the last session. So stay tuned. That's all ahead of you for this day. Yeah. Thank you for bearing with us. We'll be with you shortly with the next session. It is just taking us a minute or two to set everything up. Thank you. All right, we have everything set up now. We can get started. I want to introduce the next set of speakers for you. This particular panel is going to be about changing, like people working on the grassroots, basically. We have an amazing session with an amazing group of people who work with producers on the grassroots. And, I want to start off by introducing Ashok Kannan, who is one of the founding members at Happy Hens. He's someone who has inspired a lot of producers to kind of take up cage-free farming, by way of which he's helped thousands of birds over the years, basically, and he's a brilliant contributor to the cause. And I'd like to welcome Ashok. Our next speaker is going to be Tarun. Tarun and I became friends at an event that Fish Welfare Initiative organized, and it's been great talking to him then, and continues to be a very thriving partnership between Tarun's organization, Dvara, and our own. Tarun's one of the directors at Dvara E-Registry, where they work with a lot of producers, collectivize them into farmer producer companies and cooperatives, bring incentives from the government and incentives to collective bargaining. We're going to learn a lot more about how they do collective bargaining on behalf of producers and bring them a lot of prosperity, basically. And last but not the least, my good friend Srirang is the India Program Coordinator at the Shrimp Welfare Project, a wonderful organization that is doing brilliant work in reducing suffering, where shrimp are concerned. These are often not the animals you initially think of when you think about animal welfare, but there are so many shrimp in this country suffering because of being set up in high stocking density ponds, lacking oxygen, lacking ethical ways of ending their life, unfortunately, or there's some more unethical practices like eye stock ablation that kind of go on where shrimp is concerned. Shrimp Welfare Project has been an advocate for changing a lot of these things. And they also work on the ground and are making real change happen on the ground. And Srirang and his innovative ways are a big part of how all this is becoming possible, basically. So without further ado, I want to bring in my set of questions I have for the panel. I just want to start with kind of getting a small introduction about what your organizations do, basically from yourselves. Ashok, I want to start off with you. Can you tell us what Happy Hen does and the scope of the work that you've been taking on right now?
Hi, and good afternoon to everyone. And Karthik, basically, Happy Hens is a company which works in free range and cage free egg production. And we started in 2011, and we initially, for about 3-4 years, researched certain breeds and identify how these hens adapt to the cage-free and free-range production methods. And in 2016, when we cracked the code, we introduced franchise to the farmers, and we integrated with small and marginal farmers. And in the last 8-9 years, we have trained more than about 1,000 farmers across India, from northeast to southern part of India. And also, we are working with the small and marginal farmers in 4 different states: Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra. And we are producing cage-free eggs for corporate requirements and free-range eggs for our retail branded egg segment. And apart from doing our own business, we built a consortium for cage-free and free-range egg producers, where we, brought together more than 12 different brands across India and represent this industry to the government, and where we have been in talks with various departments of the government in formulating the welfare standards along with the labeling laws that are very essential for, for connecting the dots in cage-free and free-range egg production. And that is a small introduction. And I am the president of the current CFF that is known for the cage-free, free-range egg production producers of India. And in the current year, I am the president, and there are a lot of teams under the wing are working towards building the legislation and labeling laws regarding this industry.
Fantastic. Tarun, I want to talk to you about how, Dvara works with producers and how you've been able to inspire better production practices through your work, basically.
Hi, Karthik. Good afternoon and good afternoon to all. So I don't know whether I will be able to inspire everyone or not, but I'll tell you like what we do. So Dvara E-Registry is an egg fintech startup based out of Hyderabad. We started in 2019, so it's almost now 6 years since we are working. So as I said, it's an egg fintech startup. So there are 2 aspects to our work: egg tech and fintech. So what problem we are solving through is fintech is 3 out of 5 farmers in India doesn't have access to institutional credit. They are dependent upon local money lenders, friends and family, credit from agri-input dealers. So there are many other sources for the credit, not banks. And they charge very high interest rate. Why? These farmers, and when I quantify this number, it comes to be around 90 million farmers in India. They are not able to get access to institutional credit is they don't have credit scores. They are not so much financially literate where they can complete all the document process. And at times it happens that these farmers are based out of remote location where they are not served by the banks. So what we do is we use remote sensing and AI/ML technology, and through that we create alternative to credit score. What we do is we digitize the landholding of the farmers, and then we monitor through remote sensing satellite data how many crops farmer has taken last 3 years, health of the crop, nutrient status, moisture, damage. So 11 parameters and 200 data points are studied, along with what is the impact of climate change on that geography, because it's an equal important risk factor for any lending institution. So activity of the farmers, productivity of his land holding, and climate change. These three factors are combined together, and then we come up with the score, which we call as the Khet score. And Khet in Hindi means farm. Khet hai. So it's a farm score that gives an idea of the proxy cash flows of the farmers, and then that becomes, you can say, other alternate tool for your credit scores. And based upon that, banks and NBFC lends to these farmers. So it's a score which promotes climate agriculture. And then second aspects of work is through EgTech, where we help when we are giving the money to actually farmers adopting climate resilient practices. So we help them connecting to the input suppliers, manufacturers that provide quality produce at a competitive price. Then advisories, digital advisories with our feet on street, so that adaptability is there. So again, AI-driven model depending upon crop, date of sowing, variety, soil condition, localized weather forecast, and then the advisories are given that helps in improving productivity, and then the market connect. So everything end-to-end digital, and we have promoted 52 FPOs our own. We also work with World Bank, Walmart Foundation, International Rice Research Institute, International Food Policy Research Institute. There are many institutions we work with. So overall, 1 lakh farmers, and we have reached our financial services to more than 30,000 farmers, and we ensure that women are always part of borrowing. So 30,000 women farmers we have reached. So that's a brief about what we are doing. So it's like how we can create an impact which is sustainable as well.
And that's a great introduction because, I mean, I encourage everyone to think about a future where what Dvara has been able to do for the plant, for the agriculture space, for the plant-based agriculture space, if you're able to achieve that with animal farming, with animal welfare at the core of what we do, I think that would be doing a lot of good in this country. So I think I want to bring in Srirang now because he has similar ambitions of bringing these kind of models to many producers on the ground and enabling shrimp welfare through that process. Srirang, could you tell us a little bit about what Shrimp Welfare Project does?
Sure. Thanks, Karthik, and good afternoon, everyone. So we've been working in this space since last 4 years now, and we have been working with various stakeholders, but mainly producers and retailers. And operation-wise, we have this flagship program called the Human Slaughter Initiative, where we partner with the producers, that's farmers, large farmers, and retailers, and like avail them the stunning technology, which is quite costly, but we want to accelerate the adoption of the technology so that the end of life suffering is reduced. And we want to introduce the similar program in India, but we've been facing some operational challenges. But I think in this year we should have the first runner in India very soon. And well, and apart from that, we have a local program that we run in India. It's called SSFI, Sustainable Shrimp Farmers of India, where quite in the beginning we identified some deviations from the norm. Like some farmers were like feeding rice bran to shrimps, which is not the best practice to do, and some farmers were like cut off from the mainstream, and where the ponds are like really badly managed, where we come in and improve their management practices, clean the pond, and we bear those costs. So just in this year, we have removed sludge from about 100 acres. Sludge is like the debris or the leftover uneaten feed and animal waste that's there in the pond, which causes a lot of diseases. Uh, and we have worked with more than 40 farmers in this year alone. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Srirang. With that introduction, I think I want to get the panel started on the questions that I have, basically. Ashok, my first question is for you. How did you develop your relationship with cage-free producers over the years? I think this is a very crucial step in, scaling things to the point where, Tarun's organization is doing things basically where they're working with, tens of thousands of farmers, basically. But the first step is to build those relationships in the first place. How have you been able to build these relationships with producers and convince them to go cage-free over the years?
See, basically, in European scenario, people are converting from conventional poultry to cage-free production. But
Okay.
whereas in India, the conventional poultry is at the moment haven't accepted cage-free as an alternative. So the only people who are willing or interested in starting this cage-free business model is people who are new to poultry, who are looking for opportunities for entrepreneurial activity, or who are looking for building some agri-based businesses, which is very promising, and also it is slightly stable when there is a minimum guarantee price, because the Indian egg industry is very volatile, and every day a price comes up, and you never know what is the base on which the prices are coming up, and the farmer will be at the mercy of the feed price and the labor cost and many things. But when cage free, you know how much you are going to produce and what is the price you are going to get and what is your profitability. These are the certainties that companies like Happy Hens can give, because of our earlier experience, where these are the mechanisms needed to people to take up these kind of ventures as a business and build them and scale them in the future. If you can
That's
put
fantastic.
some other questions, I can answer.
Yeah. I'll go around and get everyone else's opinion on the same thing, and then I'll get you. We'll get started on the next set of questions I have for you as well. Tarun, I think something that Ashok touched upon is stabilizing prices for producers. Basically, I think this is something that your organization has been very successful at doing, whether it's inputs or whether it's purchasing produce at a price where like a farmer feels like they've been able to derive a better income basically. How do you go about doing that? And could you also tell us how we can in the animal movement also ensure that the producers who work with us get these benefits basically?
So I'll say we predominantly worked in agri domain. Our 52 FPOs that we have found, 51 are in agri and related thing, and one is in fisheries based out of Uttarakhand. So a lot of work that has gone in agriculture, and I'll say in agriculture, the market is much more organized and stable. So that has really helped us. So what we do? So first important thing is, if we see, highlighting just small data. 86% of our farmers belong to small and marginal category. So they have less than 2 acres of the land holding. So it's important that we need to aggregate their demand, or when it comes to even selling, aggregate their marketable surplus. Otherwise, we won't be able to negotiate better. So it became important that we form farmers aggregate, and that led to formation of FPOs. And FPO is general farmer producer organization. It could be any legal entity that can be formed under the various legal acts, like a company, as a cooperative, as a trust. It could be anything. But that is important that we have some legal entity which can then take licenses. So once we have farmer aggregate, we are legally then allowed to aggregate the demand or go for orders, then we can move ahead. So once that is in place, then the importance is of technology, because when you are working with 500 farmers, you can't call everyone and then estimate the requirements. So then we took another step, how we can use the technology. What we did was we digitized the land holding of all the farmers. We gave name to each of the land holdings, so that when we call to the farmer and asking what he is growing, when he is growing, in how much percentage he is growing, which variety he is growing, then we are able to estimate in a right way. And then our internal algos can run, and month by month, product by product, farmer by farmer, village by village, FPO by FPO, we are able to estimate what will be the demand from this farmer. Then once we have demand, then we go back, we have a connect with 200 companies, and that companies also came when we had this kind of data. Otherwise, it's become difficult to even negotiate with them. What could be the order going forward? So then we go back, we ask them what is the tentative demand, depending upon how much money our FPO have. That also becomes a constraint. The potential may be 1 crore, but the money is 2 lakh. So depending upon money we have and how much margin it gives to FPO, because FPO profitability is an also important thing. So based upon that, then we negotiate with the suppliers, and then we are able to offer right product at a competitive price. So the one of the analysis we did, we were able to reduce the cost of input by 10.2% for our member farmers. Same way, when it comes to output, we help them in aggregating the produce. So we ask them the marketable surplus. Then, because it is all geo-reference, so we are able to find which should be the collection point, and then how much will be the tentative production. So we are able to manage the logistics as well as vehicle load, truck load, whatever is the way. And then we collect the produce from the farmers. Again, all digital information is shared with the farmers, what quality, when we want, in how much bag, what will be the price, discount structure, premium structure. So that is informed, and when we collect, it is then again supplied to the buyers. It could be stockist, it could be processor, it could be anyone who offers some premium over APMC prices. So that's our benchmark we are able to do. So in short, we are able to reduce the cost of cultivation, better price realization. And when I said better price realization, we noticed around 5% of the better price realization. And in between, training and capacity building to improving the productivity. Another important thing here we found was using of the derivatives platform. In NCDX, there are a list of commodities that are listed. Now, in the last 2 years, some of the commodities got delisted, but our FPOs then started trading on soya beans, oil cakes, then the spices they are growing. So that in advance, when there is a lean season and prices are high, we are able to book the prices. And when the actual arrival comes, then they are able to get the better prices. Typical example, I'll tell you. Currently, in this season, our FPO sold the turmeric around 15,600 rupees per quintal, and then prices crashed to 12,300. So they made a profit of 3,200 per quintal. So that was good enough, where we know exactly what profit we are making compared to cost of cultivation. So entire data driven, using the right technology to mitigate risk, and the market connects and trying to help them get the better profitabilities along with financing.
Makes sense. I mean, I can see a clear pathway where adopting some of these practices, we're able to incentivize producers who take up animal welfare practices and get them to kind of like, collectively bargain, and also at the same time, identify the right markets for them. I think these are all very difficult to do for the farmer at an individual level. I think we can walk in the pathway that Dvara has set basically for animal producers as well, and get them to take the track.
Incentivizing through FPOs, it's not only just market. Other things also come, like risk mitigating tools. Like at an FPO level, we can buy an insurance that they won't be able to get at a right premium. Even financing, bringing the banks or even NBFC to finance these farmers for any activity, because when they are selling to FPO, so there is definitely you can say there is a confidence among the lender that yes, I can get money back from the FPO. So if I said 80 million farmers are not getting loan, so but if there is a assured value chain, supply chain, then definitely many lenders are willing to come and finance this kind of transaction. Also convergence with the government scheme. There is a lot of schemes that government has come up, but farmers are not aware. They don't know whom to connect. But this kind of FPOs, when they are in picture, or any farmer aggregate, they can help, or even any startup who is working closely with farmers can help in convergence, and that will be really helpful for farmers to adopt right practice. And then important becomes this value, this kind of capacity building, because farmers are doing the practices which may not be the right method. It depends upon the geography or the state and all these things. So these kind of organizations can then tie up, like organizations like where we work with FWI, where the right practices are percolated on the ground, and that really helps. And then is bringing the technology that can really help. Even FPO has tax incentives. So all the profit that is earned goes back to the farmers, and they see the benefit of interacting with the FPOs. And then FPOs can bring new partners like AgTechs, new technology, new practices, new product, that can improve. So beyond the economic incentive, there is a lot of things that an organization can give to the farmers to adopt right practices.
Right. Fantastic. Srirang, I want to bring you in right now, and I want to ask you, how do you see, what kind of adoption do you see for scaling shrimp welfare across thousands of farms, basically?
Sure. So there is a like vast scope for all stakeholders for shrimp welfare, be it hatcheries, farmers, or processing plants. But especially when it comes to farmers, there are like two main areas that I can see. The first is the farming stage and the technological adoption that they can do there, and along with that, the end of life suffering technology like stunner or chill killing, which could be like a stepping stone to chill killing. So yeah, these are like two main aspects that I can see. Like if you compare the farming, shrimp farming in India to with the other countries, is there is like almost no technological intervention. Like if you look at the countries like Ecuador, like they use a lot of IoT devices, and there is a very fine observation on water quality, which is almost like non-penetrated in India. And the companies that have, the funny thing is, the companies that have set up their base in India have moved to Ecuador because the adoption has been so slow and poor. So at the farming stage, I can definitely see technological adoption is something that needs to be promoted. And for end of life suffering, there are a lot of benefits. So chill killing, so just for a background, chill killing is when you take the shrimps from the pond, you are ideally supposed to like immerse them in ice for a few minutes so that uh, they are like effectively killed by minimizing their pain. But this is not the default procedure in India, barring a few parts of India, especially Gujarat. So this is something that's done worldwide, and by doing this, farmers can also retain the freshness of the meat and really slow down the decaying of the meat. But that's not really done in India, despite being the export commodity. So like 95% of the produce in India is like exported. Only 5% is consumed domestically. But if the farmers adopt these simple like interventions or methodologies to improve their produce, like chill killing or stunning, there's definitely a huge incentive for them waiting, and like they can get like better results. So like there is a price difference between what farmers in Ecuador get and what Indian farmers get, and it seems like internationally we have slightly lower rep for our produce, so farmers can definitely adopt such means and get incentives. Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, I see a pathway for creating institutions whereby the reputation of the producers participating with those institutions, like FPOs, for instance, creating an FPO wherein wherein we take up ethical practices, and thereby the reputation of the FPO goes up. And as a result, I think the reputation of the country could also be pulled up in this regard, where it has fallen behind quite a bit in international circles. So I want to bring in Ashok again. Ashok, I think I want to bring back some of the producer-centric approach and the value of it. I mean, like, why is the producer-centric approach important in India? And what are some of the incentives you think we can take up for scaling this beyond what we've been able to do for cage-free, basically? There's the FPO ecosystem, like Tarun has told us. There's the financial incentives that Tarun also mentioned. It's like, which one of these incentives do you think we can seek to kind of adopt in the upcoming days?
Okay, thanks a lot. Basically, I was when you guys are talking, I was just thinking about after this event, reaching out to Tarun, and I see there is a synergy. And the thing is that basically, coming back to your question, Karthik, that in Europe, all these cage-free and free range business models are, adopted by the banks. They're private and national banks. They all adopt these projects and they fund them at a minimum interest rate. When it comes to India, the conventional poultry is given loans based on projects that they scale it at the industry requirement level, and they actually fulfill their market needs. When it comes to these kind of cage-free adaptation or free range, where it is in India, it's a new thing in the last decade. We started in 2011. By then, there is, if you ask 1 lakh people about whether you know the word cage free or free range. Out of them, maybe or are 10 or 12 people, maybe who have traveled a lot, would have come up with that term. But even I believe that the term is not, belongs to Europe. In India, we are the people who actually raised animals at the most, what you call as a farm welfare or ethical practice, whatever you call it. We had it until 1980s. Thereafter, only we adopted European models of industrialized farming methods, but that is needed for a country of such a huge population. But after a period, the cycle again comes to a place where we need to take care about the animal welfare that is indirectly proportionate, or it deals with the human health. When you go for a large scale industrial production, invariably it comes with a lot of hazards that we cannot avoid, like abuse of antibiotics or anything. So basically what it in India is needed for such a producers to come up and scale it to a level that India needs is, the first, the government should come up with the regulation. Second, the banks should recognize this alternative poultry system as a system which can be funded by the banks or based on the projects, where there is a certainty of these producers, where they are directly producing for a ex corporate, and their requirements, their production is assured of a minimum price guarantee that already assures the lending agency, whether it's a bank or a FPO or whatever organization which is capable of financing these projects, that help it in a long way. And the government can also come up with certain initiatives like incentivizing their production and giving them some kind of encouragement by subsidizing 1 rupee or 2 rupees per kg of feed which they purchase from anyone. See, basically in sheep farming or goat farming in Andhra, I believe that the government is subsidizing a lot of TMR, the total mixed ration, or the silage. The government is, when the farmer is buying at X price, they are subsidizing with 4 rupees per kg or 2 rupees per kg. That in itself is adding value to the farmers' profitability and encourage them to scale the business to whatever the scale they want. And these are the dots which are being lying around or scattered around. We have to connect it, each and every one. It takes time, but once you connect the dots, and India can fulfill the farm animal welfare commitments, which are both sides, producer side as well as the buyer side, and it can happen in a large scale. It's happening, but it can be propelled further by coming with this kind of additional support system.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That is extremely important to know, and I can already see where the connections can be established. Basically, I think because FPOs are the language the government currently understands, I think formation or creating those formations within the animal space as well can allow us to access a lot of the incentives that the government is currently promoting, and also in the future is likely to promote as a result of advocacy through these collectives, basically, right? I think our voices can be heard a lot better once we kind of learn how to collectivize into these formations. Moving us forward, I think the next question I have is, Tarun, you worked with FWI for a bit. I think it's been very encouraging for us to actually have you as a partner. But, I want to understand things from your perspective as well, from Dvara's perspective as well, as to how the adoption has been and how we can, how perhaps animal welfare broadly can be natural partners to a lot of the endeavors that you are undertaking in the upcoming days. I'm not, like I know that Dwara's current projects are mostly in the plant-based space, but in the upcoming days, I feel like you guys are interested in doing things in the animal space as well, and how the animal welfare space can be a natural partner here, uh, to take things forward. I mean, like I know that Ashok has done, Ashok and his organization have put in a lot of research into understanding, birds in India. And similarly, I think Shirang and FWI have understood shrimp and fish a lot better. So how can we all partner and take this forward?
So, when we worked with FWI, I'll say it was the first organization outside our agri domain where we work with, and it has been a wonderful experience. And this is something that we are looking for. And what we feel is with the climate change, agriculture is becoming more and more risky. So we are pushing our farmers to, you can say, diversify their income, just not just dependent upon be on agriculture, adopt cattle as a income source, or a fisheries, or a poultry, or a duckery, and we are trying different pilots. So we are at very initial stage. We did work with you in Odisha, where the farmers have shown good response, and this was our learning for us also. Going forward, then we approached government of Uttarakhand and highlighted the work, because we find this is something that is very helpful for the farmers, and specifically specific community in India. There is communities who do all this kind of. There will be specific for fisheries, especially in Uttarakhand where we work, and same way for poultry and piggery and other things. So what we are doing is now encouraging our farmers to diversify cattle, poultry, piggery, and all these things. So, so it is part of our offerings, we can say, to the farmers that they need to do it. We are encouraging them. But it is also important for sustainability of an organization like their FPO, because if you see, agriculture is very cyclic. The demand will come in June, July, when there is seed requirement and majorly inputs. So if you see in the first 2 months, when you go for agri, you can say season, 70%, 80% of your demand is fulfilled in 2 months. Then it's just a crop is growing, and somewhere here and there you do any expense. So your major business is coming in July, August, and then maybe November, December. But in order to sustain an organization, you need round the year touch points. So it, and also with the lot of dependence of agriculture on the monsoon rainfall, it happened. Luckily for last 3-4 years, we didn't had any drought. It has been always higher rainfall in the areas we are talking to. But if, go forbid, we have some droughts, then these FPO won't be sustained 2-3 years of you can say low business. So we promote that these FPO need to adopt all this kind of activities where they are working with the cattle farmers, fisheries farmers, and they have a regular touch. And that's the reason why the dairy FPOs are more successful than the agri FPOs. If you see, dairy FPO will be success rate will be around 90%. And if you say the agri FPOs, it will be 10%. So that's where the difference is, how much is the ownership of the farmer in an organization. And that's where we want to bring to. So there should be combination of agriculture as well as animal related rearing practices that any farmer should follow. So our experience was really good. We want to develop further. That's why we are exploring if we can work together in other states as well. Because it's not only new technology, but also reducing the cost and improving the knowledge and the welfare of the animal as well, as well. So important thing also here comes is, going forward, as of now, we are into agri financing and cattle financing. But if there is a sustainability aspect and the mortality of the animal goes down, the health is good, we can bring in more lenders. Even we are in process of exploring if we can have our own NBFC. We will be very much interested if we can finance all this kind of the initiatives of the farmers. because less mortality means your higher repayment rate. And whenever they are connected with the FPOs and we can provide markets, it's the best model to finance. It's a very, you can say, less risky compared to other agricultural lending. Also, then the technology can play an important role where I think we can contribute for the traceability kind of a thing. We already have a platform for traceability in agriculture. We are also exploring now in dairy. So we established 5 dairy in Amravati, and we are started recording all the activities of the farmers, how the milk is coming and everything. But this can be then brought into the other, you can say, rearing practices, and then data become as a collateral. If you see, the banks and institutions are very reluctant to lend to these kind of activities because there is less trust. Because many times it happens is farmer is showing one animal and then later they come to know that that animal didn't belong to that farmer. So they are hesitant to finance, and also there is also very much risk of diseases which can lead to sudden, you can say, loss in the business. So with all these practices, with the traceability, technology, end-to-end market connect, there is many things that can be done. Risk mitigating tools can be brought, more stakeholders can be brought in, and financiers and all kind of this system can be groomed, and everything will be commercially driven without even government support. So we feel it's the way forward where we need support. We have farmer base, and all farmers, if not all, maybe 60-70% have other animal along with their agriculture. But the thing lies in markets. So if anyone wants to promote sustainability or anything, farmer expects some premium for following the right practices. So what happens is usually while following the sustainable practice, the production will go down, productivity will slightly go down. But if it is compensated through market prices, the farmers are willing. And Mr. Ashok said that by tradition, we are following previously the right practices. It's only then, and Indian farmers or Indian people are connected with their animals. Only thing is we need to again show them that there is a market, you will get better price. Please follow this. And there is a support system to provide you right products, finance, and entire logistics to support you. And they will be interested to adopt that. So market is something that I'll ask. Rest, I think there are many players in the chain who are there to support. And then later your guidance, how to promote them farmers from non-traditional or unsustainable practice to traditional and sustainable practices.
Makes sense. No, I think the One Health approach is a key thing to think about here. As we kind of, Ashok kind of touched upon this as well, as diseases, animal diseases are on the rise in the country, I think it becomes more and more important to kind of follow that principle of prevention is better than cure. Basically, the excessive usage of antibiotics will not be a solution, like forever, basically. And we'll have to look at ways in which we kind of take from traditional farming methods and also learn from technology adoption, as Srirang was putting it, on creating that One Health approach in India. And I think partnering together, to build these institutions, to build these things that advantage farmers and voluntarily bring them to the table to take up better practices is going to be key for the future of animal welfare in the country. Srirang, I also want you to kind of comment on how we are likely to scale here, basically, right? What do you think? I mean, I know that you've also been an actor in the broader movement, and I want you to think. I want to ask you, how can we scale through the One Health approach? And how can that become an incentive how can we create incentives to take up for producers to take up the One Health approach, basically?
Well, it would be a bit difficult for me to comment on the One Health approach, but I can definitely speak about something which is quite related to it. So the biggest problem for us whilst dealing with farmers is their demography itself. As we are speaking about the risk mitigation and having sustainable development of the industry, the demography of the farmers itself becomes a big problem for us, because what we need to understand is many of these farmers were fish farmers before, and they have shifted to shrimp farming whilst chasing higher returns. And something that might surprise you is the success rate of the shrimp farming is about 60%. That
Yeah.
hovers between 50 to 60%, which essentially means like these shrimp farmers are, you can put in brackets, gamblers. So they might lose 4 to 5 crops out of 10, and they're like
Right.
fine with this. And whilst chasing these high returns, they've also increased their stocking densities. Though on the brighter side, if you compare the stocking densities in India, is like much lower compared to the other Asian countries. But like 40 to 50% of the chances of losing your crop is like really high. And midst of that, you are increasing your stocking density. So at SSFI, not really like a one health approach. We have our own approach, which like this goes like our tagline, like low investment, low risk, and fair return model, where we ask farmers to lower their stocking density. By doing that, they become sort of, they gain some immunity when there is an disease outbreak, and because they have low risk, they can like grow their shrimps bigger, and by growing their shrimps bigger, they can fetch a fair return. So this is the model that we've been promoting, which is like low investment, low risk, and fair return model. And some farmers have uh, like adopted it, but the difficulty with that arises from the very root, that is the demographic. Like these farmers have been gambling with their crops. So yeah, so our message to them is not directly like one health approach, but reduce your stocking density and chase fair returns over gambling. So so that it is sustainable development overall. Yeah.
Makes sense. I guess my last set of questions are going to be connected to the challenges that you guys all face in kind of bringing about the changes that you're bringing about, basically. So Ashok, let's start with you. What are your top three challenges when it comes to
And
anything cage-free production in India?
Uh, the challenges are always there and they will remain. And it is not going to be, in 10 years down the line, we may not have challenges. It's not like that. See, basically, at the moment, the cage free, especially when you ask the cage free egg production challenges, one thing is to make the consumers, I mean, the corporates who are committed for ethical purchase or who have committed for procuring cage free eggs, is to understand that there will be a premium. That premium cannot be eliminated at the moment. The premium may come down over the next decade. Whereas in India, this particular alternative poultry system, or what you call as the cage-free egg production system, which is just about, sprouted above the ground, and it has not been, grown to a stature where it is where like in Europe or in UK or whatever, USA or any other country, where it has been on the market for the last 30 years or maximum 40 years in UK, where they have grown to a level of, they are actually, covering more than 50% of their market share. But whereas in India, in the Indian production of 39 to 40 crore eggs per day, and we are not even reached around, say, like 1 million eggs per day in cage free. That is
Mhm.
an absolute no number at all. So it will be a premium where clearly Sri Rang has clearly indicated that when you have a lesser number, decentralized, small scale production, and you assure them the premium price. Along with it comes the benefits of, when you go for a lesser flock size, you have a lot of assurance of, lesser disease
Mhm.
probability. And
Mhm.
also you have a luxury of practicing ethnobotanical veterinary knowledge that is in India. The ethnobotanical veterinary medicine knowledge is vast. That is what has been standing aside in the lab, at least to 1990s. Before the 1900, and we have been more depending on that particular ethnobotanical veterinary medicine for all of our animal protection. That has been working. So when we industrialized according to the industrial model of the Europe that we adopted in 1980s, especially in poultry, where we had to go to the their direct approach towards disease and antibiotics kind of matching that into a marriage that is not going to last. And now we have to look at the alternative availabilities about we basically as an organization individually, if you ask me, we work on building the immune system of the birds rather than treating the birds on diseases. So this is the approach that has, worked well for us in our small scale model, where, for example, as Srirang just pointed out, lesser capacity gives you better production. For example, whereas in poultry, a 300 bird flock, we have a cluster model in Andhra, and where 300 birds are producing more than 90% of eggs in the first 4 months, and they are still holding great. In the last 14 years of my experience, when the large scale cage free, I mean free range or cage free, the production down to 70% or 65% in free range in certain farms. But when the numbers are reduced to a smaller flock, the performance are getting better. The disease incidents are very less. The dependability on antibiotics is less. There, again, as Tarun pointed, the collaborative federations, say like the farmer federations, they have a bargaining capacity. It not only bargaining capacity, it also gives a lot of wage over small scale producers coming together at a very close proximities and producing eggs, which are being produced in one farm with a large scale production model. It is very, very possible that we can sustainably and successfully can produce eggs in cage-free segment and reach out to the consumers. The first challenge I told you is it has to come from the consumer side, the understanding of the premium price involved. Second point is that we need to build legislations and data points which can, put financing agencies to believe in the system. That is the second challenge. And we are doing it, and we are adopting day-to-day record notes, and everything is being done, and it is being digitized to give the banking systems a support. And also the third challenge is the geography of India is such that getting farmers into cage-free production that is needed. For example, one particular consumer in Siliguri is asking for cage-free, and there is no farm that can supply to them basically from 100 kilometers range or 200 kilometers. And it has to travel at least 600, 700 kilometers to reach their kitchen. And, there are certain organizations like GFP who are coming up with cage-free credits, which can act as a catalyst in battling these kind of challenges at the moment. And these are the things that I see as a challenge at now. But the farmers are, finding new, what you call as their success model to tackle their challenges lying in front of them. And as individually they are doing, and collectively from our organization, we are doing our bit by giving them training and building their, knowledge about running their farm, and constantly getting data points which are most available in many other countries, and getting them to understand this point and localize it to the Indian scenario. These are the things that we are doing. Hopefully, these industries will grow larger as you guys are constantly putting your effort in terms of, running webinars on these subjects. Even though there is about 10, 15 people are attending these webinars, those 15 will go out and spread word to 15,000 people. Then it can go, multiply. That's
Right.
all from my side.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Tarun, again, I mean, I want you to tell us about the projected challenges that we could be having in terms of scaling ethical practices. What do you suspect would be the top set of challenges we'd have when it comes to taking on welfare, in animal protection, basically?
I think challenge definitely will be like how to sustain all these practices. Farmer can claim anything. But if there is proper technology which is there to monitor, because unethical practices across, whether you say agriculture or a finance or accounting, everywhere, the life is full of that. But there are means to plug those gaps. So if we are able to use the technology in a right way, we can monitor that. So
Mhm.
using the technology should be the one, and incentivization should be there, because someone will follow unethical practices because somewhere he's not getting right remuneration, right profit. That's why he's moving away and try to show that he's doing something. So if
Yeah.
this market driven thing, and
Mhm.
if there is a sufficient incentive, farmer I think will follow the right
Mhm.
practice. That we need to see that we do. Also, we need to devise right financial product so that they
Mhm.
are able to meet the investment demand, or the whatever is the requirement of the right products. So they are able to do that, because that is also important. At times you don't have money, and then you start doing other things to compensate. So that should be there. And I think there should be a data-driven approach where we select right set of customer. It happens not everyone will be the right set, and everyone won't be following the ethical practices. So data is important thing, and there is a lot of data that Indian government have, but unfortunately it's not available. But if it is available, you can do lot of
Mhm.
innovation on that data. You can select right set of farmers, you can define right projects. Even lot of money in impact sector is there. There's a lot of returnable grant or revolving grant, or you can say low cost financing, CSR grants, blended finance that can come up. But thing should be there should be data, right set of customers. So if that you are able to reduce the cost for the farmers, then also the unethical practice will go down. If we are able to build the technical know-how of
Mhm.
the farmers, at times unintentionally those things happen. So that will also help. And then showing them that what benefit they are getting out of following this, and this will be in terms of monetary. So it could be better price or
Right.
reducing cost of cultivation or higher productivity. Farmer
Right.
won't be concerned with, I think, with the climate, GHG gas emissions. So he is at not that level. But we need to show them something tangible. And if
Mhm.
we are able to do that, at least I can say, if not 100%, 80% of the unethical practices we will be able to stop. And yes, technology becomes the DNA.
So to rephrase what you said, there needs to be clarity in what incentives a farmer is likely to gain by following higher welfare practices. There needs to be investment so that they can both buy the technology that is required and also change the infrastructure wherever infrastructure change needs to happen. And as a solution, you offer a lot of the grants that are available both through the government and non-government entities. As a solution for achieving this. And lastly, you suggest that there needs to be, I mean, like all this happens because sometimes there's lack of knowledge, and that knowledge gap should be fulfilled, basically,
And to
right?
monitor, we should have technology. And they know that they
Right.
are looked out, and wherever the farmer is getting incentivized, people will try to follow, because there in
Right.
Indian countries, you will have opinion leaders who will have followers. So one is getting, then all will follow. So we need to
Makes
have proper technology to monitor and to showcase the success stories to others.
Makes perfect sense. Srirang, I also want to ask you, what have been the challenges in getting producers to adopt shrimp welfare? What do you see, are the challenges to scale it basically as well?
Sure. So the biggest boon and the bane for shrimp farming is our consumers are sitting overseas. So sometimes it becomes really handy because consumers overseas are like much more demanding when it comes to sustainability. And but at the same time, the incentives and like chasing those incentives are like out of our bounds. So yeah, that is the biggest challenge. And off late there have been like many, so the reputation of the Indian produce like is at the mercy of various certifications. And in those certifications there's large, like there's almost no work with regards to considering welfare uh, of the shrimps. So if we can integrate the welfare of shrimps in those certifications, there's definitely going to be an incentive to follow. So far, the biggest and with that, as I said earlier, we want to wean the farmers away from the gambling mentality and make them chase the consistent returns. So yeah, that's what we've been working for. Yeah, so these are the two biggest problems that I can say while scaling up the welfare. First is, of course, like there should be some literature in the certification when it comes to welfare, and there should be an incentive to follow. And yeah, and when I talk about certification, also the traceability comes into the picture, as Tarun said. Like right now, there have been some companies who have implemented full-scale traceability in their supply chain, where consumer who's sitting in the US and eating Indian shrimps can just scan a barcode on the packet and gets to know like from which part of India the shrimps have come, the name of the farmer, and the crop cycle from which the produce has come from. So of course those traceability and data points come into the picture, and there definitely should be an incentive to follow. And the second one, as I said, like we want to make farmers chase like consistent fair returns
Right.
than like hitting a jackpot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, all that makes perfect sense. Thank you all for contributing to this wonderful discussion. Um, you know, as I've been managing, fish welfare initiatives, operations, one thing has become clear, that there is a long road ahead of bringing in higher welfare practices where animals in India is concerned. But I think there is a lot to learn from the sustainable ag space. There is a lot to learn from, the agri-tech sector as well. I think, organization like the one Tarun runs I think there's to learn from basically. And with those learnings, I want to bring, like with the advocacy for these learnings, I want to bring this session to a close. I highly recommend going on the websites of each one of these organizations and learning more about what they do if you're an animal advocate, and understanding how the future of welfare for animals can be brighter. Thank you so much. And it's time for our lunch break. I'll see everybody after the lunch break. Thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.